This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rhythm, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Oh. Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another week in the world of Just Send It. Tonight, we head to the land of Maple Leaves, fantastic Northern Lights displays, and also one of the most on-edge temporary street circuits in the world, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Tight hairpins, close proximity to walls, and high-flying curb action can be expected over tonight's 40 minutes of racing as we find ourselves in the Porsche Cup cars tonight, which I have to say is a fantastic fit for this circuit. I'm Bo Albert, and alongside me tonight is Mr. Lucky Mansell, with Jay Kennedy sitting in the director's chair pretending he knows what he is doing. Lucky, this combination is going to be an interesting one to master tonight because there are so many places it can go horribly wrong.
And these cars are tricky to drive at the best of times. Very good evening to you, Bo, and good evening everybody else. My housemate Brian Vanderwack is having a run tonight, and I was watching him complete some practice laps around this Montreal circuit earlier on. And one of the things about these Porsche Cup cars is because you've got all of the mass of that Porsche flat six engine over the rear axle, it means that if you get things even slightly wrong, the rear end of the car steps out and it swings you around like a pendulum. So drivers are going to have to be very wary of these cars and their twitchy handling characteristics tonight.
Absolutely, of course, the Porsche with its rear engine configuration, very difficult as we get a look overlooking the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve and see in very close proximity to the town and the city of Montreal. A beautiful location and a beautiful place for a racetrack as well. As we zoom on in, you'll see it is centered right around a lake as well. So these drivers are in a very nice looking location. You can see just completely surrounded by water on all edges with a lake in the middle as well. We're looking at 14 corners and some big braking zones around here, Lockie. You think about the final chicane coming from a very, very high speed into a very technical section of corners.
And also turn number 10, the hairpin, absolutely critical to get right for the run onto that Casino Straight, which is the longest straight on the racetrack. Couple of tricky chicanes as well, turns 8 and 9. It's a very stop-start circuit. There's no particularly high-speed corners, so it's all about maximising exit drive off some of those slower corners for the runs onto what are quite long straights. And you have to watch out as well on the exit of turn number 14 for the infamous Wall of Champions. A concrete wall that has claimed many Formula One drivers over the years.
Absolutely, and I wouldn't be surprised if it claims a couple more as we get a look at that very corner right about now, and you can see the drivers entering at very high speeds. Some going at slightly different lines through the corner as someone just shortcuts through, and that is a talking point in itself. That corner has some very harsh slowdown penalties as well, and to be as fast as possible around this circuit, you have to be hitting those curbs extremely hard. Take too much though, and you will be penalized, and that's a painful one, often requiring at least 2.5 seconds to slow down. So we can see races decided in that chicane, even if there is no contact with the wall at all. And there are plenty of walls around here, even through turns 4 and 5, drivers running right out and over the exit curbing towards that concrete wall. And I think in qualifying, that would have really upset a few drivers, because one hit with the wall here and your lap is over.
And like you say, those slowdown penalties, something to really be aware of as well. And if that happens in qualifying, then that pretty much ruins your lap as well. So challenging for the drivers to get laps in as we see Tyler Howard making contact with the Yarmco. That's on the run down into, I think it's the turn 8 and 9 chicane, and that would have damaged the steering on Tyler Howard's car, so he's out of business. We take a look at Brenton Hobson, who has done a really, really stout job once again in qualifying tonight. Blake Purdy, the other driver who was very, very fast in the qualifying sessions that we had earlier on. Probably worth noting as well, just before we go to the grid, Bo, that because we've got the Supercars E-Series tonight, a lot of the regular Just Send It front runners not participating tonight because they're focusing on their Supercars E-Series commitments, but Still some quality drivers in the field, and an opportunity, I think, for some to shine in the spotlight this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, a lot of our big name drivers that we would sometimes see in the series have not been able to appear, unfortunately. So we do have a slightly condensed field, but still 31 very competitive drivers indeed, as practice comes to an end now and the drivers will get ready for the race start coming up in just a few moments' time. So what we'll do is we'll get your grid up on screen and we'll run on through how your field will start for this 40-minute race around the tight walls of Montreal, and it's all kicked off by Blake Purdy on the pole position ahead of Brenton Hobson with a big championship charge at the moment, and Mitchell McLeod in position 3. Ryan Wood kicked things off from position 4 with Steve Jansen, Emerson Harvey on row number 3, Tyler Howard and Daniel Yeaman are your front 4 rows, with Christian Lindbaum and Mario Vartanian rounding out your top 10.
Back to Matt Lupino in 11th position ahead of Race Cohen. Kobe Williams in 13th, back to Harrison Dengate. Tyson McAvoy in 15th position, followed by Brian Vanderwacker. And then it's Bradley Vaughan out of 17th. Christina Nazarick in 18th position. Jonathan Bykoff and Julian Andrews Church completing the top 20.
21st goes to Tom Wilkinson, Jaden Russell, Brendan Jenner, Aiden Brand, Brady McHugh, but it is going to be lights out and away we'll go any second right about now. The clutches have dropped and we are away, and Blake Purdy is really away. A fantastic start for your pole sitter, not for your second row of the grid. They're jumped by Ryan Wood, the championship leader, as the cars all funnel into turn number 2, and there's chaos. One car around and plenty more cutting the course as well. We always see it at Montreal, and turns 3 and 4 are often not much better. We'll see how the field file on down. You can see a few drivers side by side trying to settle themselves down, and I think they've just about done it. So turns 1 and 2 were the hot spot, and now Jonathan Bykoff goes for a spin and collects a couple more cars as well. So turns 4 and 5 have collected a few more, but for your leaders, it is all clean out front.
Yeah, one thing that you absolutely want to avoid is any steering damage, because if you bend the steering early in the race, it will make the rest of the race very difficult. As we ride on board with Kobe Williams, he's slipping down on the inside of Daniel Yeaman on the run down into that very, very tight chicane, and the car just ahead of them cutting across the grass as well. That will surely be a slowdown penalty. And we've had a spinner that looks like Brian Vanderwacker in the background there has rotated. Indeed, it is the windscreens O'Brien, Stephen Richards, the liveried Carrera Cup cars gone for a rotation. And Mitchell McLeod getting passed by multiple cars on the exit of the hairpin as well.
Yep, I believe that's got to be a slowdown penalty. Started third, now a long way from it, finds himself down in what will be effective 6th position at the end of this first lap. You can see more cars spread out down the back straight. One driver, the 17, serving a slowdown penalty as everyone files into the wall of champions. A big dive from the 12 car. Big contact with Kobe Williams, who goes rotated and collects Bradley Vaughan as well. And a few others getting all kinds of caught up, and the wall of champions has become the wall of many, unfortunately, at the end of lap 1.
Well, it wasn't so much the wall of champions there, because the accident was actually happening on the opposite side of the track. It was cars crashing into one another on the inside of the circuit. We'll go to a replay and we'll find out exactly what happened. All of that was created because we had cars taking slowdown penalties just before the braking zone, which saw some people getting checked up. And you can see there Kobe Williams and Matt Lupino coming together, and once those cars were facing in the wrong direction, the carnage just got worse and worse.
Absolutely did. Back up to your front 2, and it really is your front 2. They have bolted away from third place. Brenton Hobson at the moment. Ryan Wood not letting Blake Purdy get away at the moment, holding good station in position number 2. These two qualified fairly close proximity to one another in terms of lap times. So for the driver of Ryan Wood, he has to avoid getting a wheel on the grass and giving the biggest advantage as possible to Blake Purdy, who can now skip away. And now Brenton Hobson is all over the back of your championship leader down the long back straight, side by side. They will go, and it is easily in the favour of Brenton Hobson. Emerson Harvey in the 76 now blast on past the 40 car as well. So Ryan Wood in all kinds of trouble with his slowdown penalty. Tyler Howard going to get involved as well. Contact! He hits the championship leader, who goes around, and amazingly Ryan Wood comes out of that better than Tyler Howard, who flick spins into the path of Harrison Dengate, causes big contact, and for the second lap in a row, chaos ensues at the last moment of the circuit.
Wow, unbelievable. So it's that last couple of corners, isn't it?
Oh,
Turn
big crash!
14. Oh, Tyson McAvoy. And that's at turn 1. He's got a
Jaden-
barrel roll.
Jaden Russell involved in a big way there. Rest on his side at turn number 1. You get a replay up on screen right about now and see what on earth happens. You can see all of the chaos that was unfolding just in front there. And Lockie, I'll get you to take over and talk us through this one.
So down into turn number 1. So this is happening just behind our leading pack. Oh, well, he's done that on his own, hasn't he, Jaden Russell? So he's hit the wall just before the braking zone for the corner. He's gone for a massive cartwheel with Pike, and he's taken out 2 other cars in the process.
Yeah, that's a bit of an odd one. We'll get another look at it now. You can see just working his way towards turn number 1, and wow, I really can't explain what's happened there. That's a really odd one there for Jaden Russell, and it's caused a big incident here at in this race. So a lot of cars involved in that, and we do actually have a new race leader. So Blake Purdy, who had a pretty big advantage, has now found himself losing the race lead. That promotes Brenton Hobson to the pit lane of all places. Emerson Harvey will take over as your race leader. But a very early pit stop call from Brenton Hobson could be a good one, as is that Ryan Wood. That's Ryan Wood in the Wall of Champions, our championship leader. That's not how you win a championship, even if it is called the Wall of Champions. And that is going to be significant damage to the right side of his Porsche.
And the problem with crashing into the Wall of Champions, Bo, is that you've gone past the pit entry at that point. So it means that basically you have to either get a tow back to pit lane and cop the time penalty that goes along with that, or you have to drive a complete lap with what is quite possibly going to be a damaged car. And it looks like Ryan Wood has gone for option B, and he's going to continue on with a car that you would imagine would have quite considerable damage after that impacts with the fence.
You can see both the front and rear quarter panel are damaged. Not as damaged as Tyler Howard's car, who's almost collected by one of the Pursuit Sim Racing cars. That's almost a bad rejoin. And what it will do is cause a bit of an incident there for Brendan Jenner and Nick Scaraju as the drivers try and sort themselves out. I'm seeing a couple of questionable rejoins tonight. Motum Just Send It series replay up on screen. We'll take a look at this one as well. And for Ryan Wood, on board at the moment, we'll have a look and see what happened to the driver behind who was involved in that major incident through just that little right-hand kink that you go through. It's a bit of a tricky one, especially in a car like this with very minimal front downforce. Comes through, there's a car in the way, narrowly avoid, very close for Brad Vaughan, and got away with it somehow. And a safety car has been called as well.
Well, this makes things interesting now because quite a lot of cars have not yet pitted. In fact, none of the top 11 cars in the race have taken a stop yet. That decision by Brenton Hobson come into pit lane on the previous lap could prove to be an absolute masterstroke, because all of the cars in front of him on the racetrack are going to get trapped by the safety car and stuck out on the racetrack. All of the cars that have already done a pit stop are going to be really well placed here. So this is going to shake the race up massively.
Absolutely, but like you say, a lot of cars haven't taken their pit stop yet. So for Brenton Hobson, while he will gain a track position, there may not be too many or as many cars as we would normally see in between him and the drivers that have to pit on the restart. So he'll still gain a very large advantage out of this and is more than likely going to become our effective race leader at the end of this caution. But for Brenton Hobson, he's still going to have to work hard for it, because this is a very early safety car, and there is a long way to go in this race once the green flag flies once again. But like you say, a big margin of your front runners have not pitted. That includes the drivers of Purdy, Harvey, Inquas is a lap down, but McLeod hasn't. Your championship leader, Ryan Wood, who has significant damage to his car, has not pitted as well. Matt Lapino, your entire top 5, and that extends all the way down to a 9th place at the moment.
So for those of you not familiar with the Just Send It race format, it's a 40-minute race. There are pit stops to be taken by every driver, and that is managed by restricting the amount of fuel that each driver is allowed to start with. And a random number of safety cars can be anywhere between 0 and 2 safety cars per race with the Just Send It race format. In terms of the championship, we haven't talked about it much. We've mentioned the fact that Ryan Wood is the championship leader, but last week Brendan Hobson took his second win of the season in the NASCAR Chevy Silverado truck at Charlotte and closed to within 14 points of the championship leader, Ryan Wood. So the contest very much on between those two. Mitchell McLeod in the game as well. He's currently third in the championship, but a little bit further back. And on the subject of Mitchell McLeod, he becomes the equal most capped driver in Just Send It tonight, making his 51st race start, as we see all of those race-leading cars taking the opportunity now that pit lane is open to dive in and get their stop out of the way.
Absolutely. You can see Mitch McLeod using a few cheeky little tactics in the pit lane to try and sneak past and gain a position during the pit lane. So you can see him there. And he's actually almost managed to pass the driver of Emerson Harvey in the pit lane, which is very impressive, as he will go and find his pit box and complete his service. But as you can see, that does promote the driver of Brenton Hobson to the race lead. Christian Lindbaum will pick up position number 2. A great effort there, always finding a way to get them up towards the front of the order when the safety car comes out. Always very good with strategy. Daniel Yeaman will inherit position number 3, Steve Jansen in 4th, and Jonathan Bykoff in 5th as well. So like we sort of alluded to, a very shaken up order from this first safety car period.
Well, Daniel Yeaman's a bit of a sleeper in the pack here for mine as well, because he's had quite a lot of experience driving in GT-style cars, so I wouldn't be at all surprised if once we get a restart here, if Daniel Yeaman can take the fight up to our race leaders.
Absolutely, and we're just having a look at the drivers that have just exited the pit lane. You can see there, Blake Purdy in position 15. That is some way behind the drivers of Ryan Wood and Mitchell McLeod, who became the driver that jumped just about everybody from that pit cycle. So Mitch McLeod with a very interesting strategy call there, whether he's underfueled the car slightly or done something a bit above and beyond to gain those positions in the pit lane. But very, very nice strategy there from Mitch McLeod. If he does pull that off, you can also see a few other drivers like Emerson Harvey and Bradley Vaughan have lost some ground in the pit stops as well. So even in the safety car periods, we're getting all kinds of strategy and game plans happening in this race, as the lights on the safety car are now out and racing will resume at the end of this lap. Brenton Hobson makes his way through the hairpin. He's got some very competitive drivers behind him, so this is no easy race for him at all. But all his championship competitors are a long way behind. And for Brenton Hobson, you mentioned he's had 2 wins now in this series. But I think the impressive thing for me is how many podiums he's been able to rack up. It's just race after race. Hobbo has found a way to collect points at the end of the day, and that is what is bringing him closer and closer into this championship fight with Ryan Wood.
Yeah, well, just to illustrate that point, from the 6 rounds that we've had so far, Brenton Hobson's been on the podium 4 times. So you're right, it's that consistency that is paying dividends as we get set for a race restart here. The safety car about to peel off into pit lane, and the field, headed by Brenton Hobson, about to make its way through the final 2 corners on the racetrack. The green flag flies back underway here, week number 7, season 5 of the Just Send It iRacing series.
So, Brenton Hobson leads the way into turn number 1, ahead of Lindbaum and Yeaman as well. Your top 3 at the moment, with plenty of your front runners in this series a little further down the order. How much progress can they make? Where can they finish up at the end of the next 27.5 minutes of racing? It's a long way to go. Plenty of passes, plenty of action still to come here around the streets of Montreal. It's a great jump from Hobbo, who leads the way. Lindbaum trying to stick with him. The top 4 already performing a little bit of a gap to Jonathan Bykoff in position 5. On board with McLeod, squirrels on the brakes and pulls it up beautifully. And also Ryan Wood takes advantage, sweeping around the outside of the right-handed corner that leads onto this back straight. So these two already making hay while the sun shines, and it's worth noting the damage on Ryan Wood's car now being repaired. So he now has a fast race car again. There's no more nursing a broken car. That pit stop has been beautiful times for him in regards to getting his race back on track.
Well, I'm guessing that everybody had a fast repair tonight, because even the people having had very quick pit stops as we ride on board with Blake Purdy.
Oh no!
And we've had chaos at the hairpin by the looks of it.
Absolutely, more cars involved, and even Blake Purdy was involved, and it's still continuing on. Purdy going to be spun on the straighty tangles with Tyson McAvoy. All of your former race leaders have been taken out in dramatic fashion. And what that has done has put Mitchell McLeod with now a damaged car towards the end of the race. Ryan Wood is going to have to avoid a spinning Julian Andrew Church. Cars having to spear across the final chicane to take avoiding action. All kinds of chaos. We see a replay up on screen, and it was a big dive from McLeod, but there was already an incident further ahead that tipped all of that off. So a very chaotic restart there, Lockie.
Sure was, and a few drivers went for a rapidly diminishing gap there at the hairpin. It just goes to show how quickly the overtaking opportunity can close there at the hairpin. All of this very much working to the advantage of Brendan Hobson, who's got his head down, he's got cleared track, and he's able to extend a bit of a margin over the cars behind him, including Christian Lindbom and Daniel Yeaman, neither of whom we've seen on the podium in a Just Send It race before. So opportunity for those two drivers potentially to chalk up their personal best Just Send It race finish tonight.
And how many times have we said it in this championship fight so far that Ryan Wood, whenever there is chaos around him, finds a way to escape unscathed, and there is not a scratch on that G-Drive liveried Porsche at the moment. Other championship rivals, Mitch McLeod, big damage to his car behind, and you can see him actually swirling around the circuit. He looks a little out of sorts at the moment. As you can see, Ryan Wood with a big dive up the inside on Brian van der Wacker. Plenty of room given by Brian, and that is another spot gained for Ryan Wood. So even when the championship, he was in the wall at the wall of championships early in the race, when it all goes wrong for him, somehow it all comes right by the end of it.
Yeah, Brian van der Wacker left the door wide open there. I think he probably realises that he might not quite have the pace of Ryan Wood, so rather than fighting unnecessarily, he lets Wood go through, settles back into his own rhythm. He'll look back to Mitchell McLeod in 8th position. Mitchell McLeod really needs to keep finishing ahead of Ryan Wood in case to keep his somewhat slim championship hopes alive. And in terms of the championship, the driver who's well poised to benefit based on the positions as they are at the moment, Brendan Hobson. He'll take another big chunk of points out of Ryan Wood's lead if the drivers stay in their current positions through to the checkered flag.
Absolutely, and he's not pulling away rapidly from the car behind, only a 10th of a second faster than second place last time around, but he's doing it consistently, just a little bit one lap, a little bit the next. That's all he has to do. Not overdrive the car, just do exactly what he needs to as Reese Cohen feels the wrath of Ryan Wood and falls down yet another position. So Ryan Wood somehow finds himself in the top 5, but as you can see, race leaders and your top 3 still fighting it out. And Daniel Yeaman, you mentioned a bit of a sleeper there. Definitely a very competitive driver, knows how to get around a circuit, and more importantly, knows the Porsche quite well. Too. So he's done a lot of driving in this car. He even ran a series, or still does to this day run a series in this Porsche Cup car. So it's a car that interests him. It's a car that he knows well. And at the moment, he's taking full advantage of it because he's looking very racy behind Christian Lindbom at the moment as they work their way down this long back straight. Now, these cars don't have the biggest effective slipstream, but what they do have is very tricky to master brakes. That experience that Yeaman has in this car with the brakes being so sensitive as they are could be an advantage. And as you can see, getting very close to the back of Christian Lindbom at the moment, just needs a little opportunity, and I think Yeaman can really take advantage.
If these three keep battling though, Ryan Wood will catch them because Ryan Wood is the fastest driver on the racetrack at the moment. 1 minute 37.1, fastest lap of the race for Ryan Wood on the previous lap, and a 37.7 that time around, still making him the fastest driver on the racetrack. So it will shortly become a 4-way battle for positions 2 through to 5 if that battle continues. And Reese Cohen there in 6th, starting to fall back into the clutches of Brian van der Wacker as well.
Absolutely. So Brian van der Wacker doing a very good job at the moment trying to hunt down Reese Cohen, and they're continuing their little scrap as Cohen makes his way through what is actually a very tricky corner because you have to try and build speed the entire way through the exit. You don't take it like a traditional corner. You've really got to take it very slow into that first left and then just build the speed all the way up to the exit through the right-hander, and it's a very tricky thing to do. And at the moment, Brian van der Wacker definitely doing a better job of that than Reese Cohen. You can see visually on screen, just closing in every little traction zone, every braking zone. He's able to squeeze just a little more performance out of the Porsche.
Yeah, although I think he had a bit of a brake lock up at that previous chicane, Brian van der Wacker, which has just cost him a couple of car lengths. This hairpin here, so important to get the exit right. Like I said before, contact in the background. Is that Blake
Howard, big contact! And one driver is up and over into the fence hard. That's Emerson Harvey. And what that was the lap driver of Tyler Howard had some kind of incident just after the hairpin, actually made contact with Brian Vanderwacker and many more. You'll see already a very damaged car on the 44. We saw an incident earlier on, and it's gone from bad to worse. Now, something's happened here on the exit of this corner. I didn't quite see it at the time. We'll see what happens, because he did make contact with Brian Vanderwacker. Oh, very lucky not to collect a championship leader. And then out of nowhere, you'll see him just spear to the right of the circuit, collects one car there, and then Emerson Harvey just nowhere to go, and a big hit and hard into the guardrail as well for the all-black Porsche.
Yeah, that's a bit frustrating, I think.
And the caution number 2.
Yeah, frustrating for Brian Vanderwacker. Here it is riding on board with him. Because no space, nowhere to go. Actually, I'm amazed that Brian Vanderwacker didn't get more damage out of that, but it did cause his car to slow down, and he has lost a few positions in the process of that, so he falls back to 9th. He was up in 7th position prior to that incident, so that will be a bit of a frustration. And Daniel Yeaman up to 2nd, so Daniel Yeaman's made the move through on Christian Lindbom up into 2nd place. Let's have a look at how it happened, because this has been brewing for a little while. Daniel Yeaman had been putting the pressure on Christian Lindbom. He was probably getting a bit impatient because he had Steve Janssen right behind him as well. Now, has Yeaman made a big send somewhere, or has Lindbom made a mistake? The onboard will tell the story. Oh, Lindbom's made a mistake, and Yeaman just squeezes through the narrowest gap between Lindbom's car and the concrete wall.
And that was actually big damage to Christian Lindbom. He's actually decided to pit under this second safety car, so whatever damage he sustained in that impact, unsurprisingly, that was a big hit at a very bad angle as well for Christian Lindbom. So we'll get another look at it here. And it's so easy to do. You want to cut as close to that inside wall as you can, but if you touch it, you're in a world of pain. And boy, he was feeling the pain, and the car was too. Big damage there. And sadly, that has meant he has had to come into the pits and get a brand new car. But what this does for a lot of the field is just compresses things once again, which I'm sure Brenton Hobson not going to be a huge fan of, because he was pulling out a very nice gap, actually out to 3.1 seconds across the line last time around. So Hobbo had a very nice margin indeed, but we saw before that caution flag came out, the Ryan Wood punching in consistent, very, very fast laps, holds the fastest lap of the race at the moment. That gap that he had all the way to the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st, that's just been gone. It is diminished, and he is right on their gearbox.
Yeah, interesting that we've got a second safety car and just send it this week. As mentioned, it's a random number of safety cars between 0 and 2. So tonight we've gone for the maximum 2 safety cars. And I reckon the driver who will be on the charge at the restart will be Ryan Wood. We saw the lap times that he was doing when he had clear track just prior to the safety car intervention. This failed compression puts him right in the game. He'll realise that Brenton Hobson's now only about 50 or 60 metres up the road, so Ryan Wood, that puts him right back in contention for the race win. And he really has been a bit of a star, hasn't he, of this Just Send It Season 5, Bo? I hadn't really heard much about Ryan Wood as far as sim racing goes prior to this season, but he's certainly demonstrated his talents this first round.
No, absolutely. I'm a bit the same. I wasn't too familiar with Ryan Wood, but I absolutely am now. He's doing a stellar job across all kinds of cars. There's not been a car this season where he's really been off the pace or really been outside of that top 5 or 10 in terms of raw lap speed. He's been very competitive across the board. He's been able to punch in the races where he needs to, score the points when he needs to. He's not being over flamboyant when it comes to getting past cars. If he's going to just sit behind and collect 3rd place points, he will do that just to keep going in the championship. And that is why he is the championship leader, as Mitch McLeod dives into the pits, getting some repairs on the Torque car there. So clearly that damage that he did sustain a little bit earlier in the safety car restart, a bit too much for him, and he's going to try and make amends there. Lights are out on the safety car, so this is our final time pacing around the 4.3 kilometers of the Montreal circuit. Hobbo is your race leader. Daniel Yeaman, he's now up into 2nd. We saw him pressuring Christian Lindbom before the safety car came out. The mistake from Lindbom gave the opportunity for Yeaman into 2nd. What can he do on this restart? We saw decent pace from him, but was he getting held up by Lindbom, and can he take it to Brenton Hobson and Ryan Wood in this race?
Yeah, I'm not sure that he's quite got the pace of Brenton Hobson. The key thing here, I think, for Daniel Yeaman and Steve Janssen is going to be defending from the hard-charging Ryan Wood behind because we know just how much pace he's got on board. But interesting, like you say, a couple of drivers taking the opportunity to dive in for a second pit stop under this safety car. Harrison Dengate has come in, and Blake Purdy, by the looks of it, is now out of the race altogether. Too much damage for his car, to his car, and he has been in the pits now for 10.5 minutes. So an early retirement for our original race leader, Blake Purdy. His night is done, but the order as they sit behind the safety car, Brenton Hobson, your leader, ahead of Daniel Yeaman, Steve Jansen in third, back then to Ryan Wood, Reece Cohen in position 5, Kobe Williams, Brian Van Der Wacker, Bradley Vaughan, Matt Lupino, and Aidan Brand rounding out the top 10. Everybody in the field has done at least one pit stop. A few drivers, as we have mentioned, taking the opportunity to come down pit road a second time for some repairs or potentially for some extra fuel.
Yep, and the driver who was in the highest place of the 2 pit stop runners is Mitchell McLeod, but that is all the way down in position 20, a long way back there from Mitch, and that's a lot of cars to pass. And in this car, tyres aren't a massive issue. I think the issue with the Porsche Cup car more than anything is keeping your tyres cool and not overheated. And if you can manage that, you're in a fairly good spot for a tyre wear across the entire stint. And with this safety car period, of course, tyres are going to cool. So I think everybody is near enough going to be on a very level playing field for this restart. There's not going to be any tyre advantages. There's not going to be fuel advantages now because we've had 2 safety cars. Fuel saving should not be an issue. I think what we've got now is 15 minutes on the clock, the Montreal Street Circuit, Porsche Cup cars, 31 of the best drivers in Australia and New Zealand racing tonight, and one heck of a grandstand finish. The safety car is in, and Brenton Hobson puts the pedal to the metal, and it is lights out, and away we go for attempt number 3 here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. A great restart there from Hobbo. Yeaman going to go with him, and Jansen in third as well. You can see a big dive from Reece Cohen up the inside, and we'll get that position there very close to the field, all bottles up. You can see contact nose to tail between plenty of them. Top 4 already escaping out front. We have a look at Bradley Vaughan, who's on the back of Brad Van Der Wacker as they make their way, or Brian Van Der Wacker as they make their way through the very tricky Montreal Street Circuit. Now through the very fast right-hander. Don't touch the wall. We saw Christian Lindbaum touch it earlier, and he paid the price as well. Plenty of action in the mid-pack. All kinds of crossovers. Reece Cohen setting up for something on Kobe Williams here. And Kobe, I have to say, a very good recovery in 6th at the moment. As you can see the field side by side, almost 3 wide, heading into this next up chicane. You can see the driver behind backing out, wants no part of it, as Brian locks up a little bit of door banging as well. And it's the driver, Matt Lupino, taking advantage as Bradley Vaughan loses 2 spots in a single corner.
He got his elbows out there, Brian Van Der Wacker, so Bradley Vaughan was trying to get up the inside, but Van Der Wacker forced him wide, but now it's Matt Lupino who gets up the inside of the O'Brien windscreen's car, and Vaughan's going to try and take advantage as well, side to side, door-to-door contact, and Bradley Vaughan's going to spin out of that one. Couldn't get the power to the ground. The contacts that those 2 cars made unsettled his car, and he comes off second best. Van Der Wacker is able to continue on unscathed, but here comes Ryan Wood. He's already gained 1 spot since the restart. He's made the move through on Steve Jansen, so Ryan Wood up into 3rd spot. Daniel Yeaman, his next target.
Absolutely, but Yeaman's done a good job to stick with Hobbo as well, so if Ryan Wood can get past Daniel Yeaman, then he doesn't have long to try and catch Brenton Hobson as well. They're all very close to one another at the moment, so for all these drivers, still plenty to play for, and any one of these top 4 still in with a very good shout of a race win here today as they work their way through the very tricky turns 4 and 5 here at Montreal. And you can just see Ryan Wood taking slightly different lines to Daniel Yeaman. How about the inside here? That's very late on the brakes. That's contact between the 2. And if ever there was a bump to pass, contact with Ryan Wood. Lucky not to rotate there. It's so easy to unload these Porsches and end up in a spin. And Ryan Wood gets away with it, but Steve Jansen is going to think about taking advantage. Can't do anything this time around though, so Ryan Wood will continue on in position number 3, but he's made his intentions clear, and a very nice exit there. Can he do anything into one of the biggest braking zones on the circuit, into the slow speed hairpin? He nudges out to the right hand side. He now goes for the move. He's squarely on the brakes. Contact again. Here comes Jansen. What can he do? The answer is not enough. Ryan Wood in 2nd place, Jansen in 3rd. Hobbo though is clearing out.
Pretty aggressive stuff from both of those drivers. It started at one of the earlier chicanes where Wood tried to barge his way up the inside of Yeaman. Yeaman was having none of it and gave it straight back to Ryan Wood, but finally Wood manages to make the move through at the hairpin, and Yeaman now on the defensive to stop Janssen from relieving him of that podium position. We'll have a look at a replay of another incident that's happened a little bit further down the order, and that unfortunately involves Mitchell McLeod, so buried in the field after that second pit stop. And the driver who came into this round third in the championship, not having an ideal run so far tonight. And that's happened down at the final couple of corners with a few other cars involved as well.
Yeah, chaos there, but there was also chaos out of turn number 2. Janssen and Yeaman come together, and it was Yeaman that came off the worst of it all. He's dropped down to 6th place now. Wasn't a major incident, but it was enough to just unsettle Yeaman, and it all ended in tears. So you can see him collecting the inside wall. So not ideal at all, but Matt Lapino now finds himself moving up the order. A great drive from him. And for your race leaders right now, there is still a long way to go. 10 minutes, about 6.5 laps to go here at round number 7 of Just Send It. Brendan Hobson and Ryan Wood, 1st and 2nd in the championship, and 1st and 2nd on track as well.
How about this performance from Kobe Williams as well? He was buried in the mid-pack, but he's fought his way back into a podium position now. So great performance from young Kobe Williams, who is always a bit of an excitement machine whenever we go Just Send It racing. He's going to have to get his elbows out to hold on to that third position, though, because he's got Steve Janssen and Matt Lapino charging up behind him.
Absolutely. We saw him involved in that very first incident on lap number 1 at the Wall of Champions, which is coming up to again now as big impact behind for the number 12 car, who just locks the rears and slams into the outside wall. So that's Matt Lapino. I think he's actually going to retire the car as well. So disaster there for him, who was having a very good drive here tonight. But Kobe Williams, yeah, a great effort here, and he's still holding off Steve Janssen at the moment. And if he can get a podium out of this, that would be a very good effort. But for your race leaders, Ryan Wood, 0.6 of a second faster last lap around.
Just having a look at my results spreadsheet, and Kobe Williams not yet had a podium in at Just Send It, so this will be his best result if he can stay there. But it's been one of those races where drivers in the podium positions have not wanted to stay there. But yeah, we're watching the times of Ryan Wood, and he is on the charge, more than half a second quicker, like you said there, Bo, compared to our race leader, Brendan Hobson. I think Hobbo is going to be feeling the pressure very soon as Tyson McAvoy gets caught out by those twitchy handling characteristics that I talked about before, loses the rear end of the Porsche and makes contact with the Armco.
That was actually contact from the car behind. You can see the car in front just got a little bit locked up, and he went for the over-under, but there was a car filling the space, and sadly the contact was all he needed to go firing into the wall. Nothing particularly wrong that Eddie Beswick did there, just saw a gap, went for it, and filled it up. But sadly for Eddie Beswick, I don't think Karma's being very nice to him, because contact at the hairpin is being shuffled down many spots. These cars are absolutely nose to tail right now down the back straight, and this could get very messy into the final chicane, as I think there's actually bump drafting going on between Harvey and Eddie Beswick at the moment. You can see it's all getting very close, very, very close. Almost contact there into the final chicane, and I think maybe, just maybe, they'll get away with it. No, Reese Cohen will not. He'll go spinning all by himself at the final corner. Loses a bunch of spots, but Emerson Harvey, of course, he was rolling down the back straight a couple laps ago. Now into 8th place, a fantastic comeback from him as well. It really shows for some of these drivers that were involved in an incident earlier on, just keep on doing the laps, just keep on chugging along, keep on swimming, and the good things may just come your way, especially when we get 2 safety cars, and they've really taken advantage of that.
Like you said, though, shaping up for a grandstand finish here at the front of the field. It's now less than a second separating our race leaders, Brendan Hobson and Ryan Wood, with Wood considerably quicker than Hobson as Brian Vanderwacker goes for a move and makes contact with Eddie Beswick, who gets turned around. And that was a shame for Eddie Beswick, because he had worked his way up to 9th position, but he gets dispatched by Vanderwacker and turfed out of that position as we turn our attention back to the battle for the race lead, with just 7 minutes remaining, and a wide moment for Brendan Hobson coming out of that hairpin that leads you onto the back straight. That will allow Wood to close up. It's now less than half a second between our 2 race leaders. How important is this battle for the race lead? If Hobson wins, The championship margin comes down to 10 points. If Wood can get past Hobson, the championship lead extends out to 18 points. So it's an 8-point turnaround, depending on what happens. Look at the amount of curb that Brenton Hobson uses coming out of the 14th and final corner. He had the left-hand side wheels about half a metre up in the air there as he absolutely nailed that ripple strip, but it has allowed Ryan Wood to close in. Forget about the margin now. It's about the visual gap between the two cars on the racetrack, and Ryan Wood looking for the overlap, looking for the overtake, and looking to pressure Brenton Hobson into a mistake.
Absolutely, he is. These two are really scrapping it out right now, and this is a championship-defining moment for Ryan Wood. He could just sit behind in second place, collects the points, and be championship leader, but no, he's risking it all. He's risking a did not finish in this race to go for the race win. Screw collecting points. He wants to collect race wins right now, and he is attacking with everything he's got on the 88 car. Down the back straight they will go, and you've got to think there is a move coming very soon. Every braking zone right now, just edging the car to the inside, filling the mirrors of the Smiths & Sons sponsored Synergy Sim Racing car, and surely into the hairpin coming up in a few moments' time, or into the final chicane. There is a move coming soon, because clearly the speed is with Ryan Wood. That's an audacious move. That's aggressive. That is a few wheels in the grass, oversteer on exit. It's a drag race. Who's got the speed? Who's got the traction? Who has it all when it matters? Side by side, they will go. I think Hobbo with a slight exit advantage, and Ryan Wood is going to have to think about backing out unless he goes for a big move at the final chicane, which he will, but backs out, brakes early, and the field will stay as they are. A bit of a compromised line from Hobson, though. A bit shallow on entry, locked it all up, hurt his exit speed, and now Ryan Wood may think about the inside here. Hobbo makes him go the long way, but if Ryan Wood can hold it around the outside here, that's the inside for the next corner. He tries for it. Hobson knows that and covers it off.
What a race between these two. How good is this between our two championship combatants with 4.5 minutes to go in it? Just send it. Two Porsche pilots exploiting the limits, exploiting the performance of their cars to perfection, and they're going to put on a thrilling display for us to round out this week's Just Send It action. And it is Just Send It, so surely Ryan Wood has to have a go somewhere. But Brenton Hobson, he's driving all of the right defensive lines to close out most of the key overtaking opportunities.
Absolutely, you can see there he's doing everything he can to defend, but the thing is, he's defending so much, he's slowing himself up, and in a few places, he's creating opportunities for Ryan Wood where he perhaps doesn't need to. He's going too defensive and should really just focus on hitting his own lines and try and make something of it, try and pull away just a little bit, whereas instead of defending every corner, you're just going to slow yourselves both up and create issues for yourself. Through the hairpin, they'll go once again. A good exit from Hobson. He will lead down the back straight once more, and with no real draft effect, doesn't have to do too much weaving, but he's going to anyway. He wants to cover off every opportunity he can. And if you're wondering about laps, we're looking at 2 laps to go in this race. So for Brenton Hobson, there's not even 10 kilometers left in this race. There's a little bit under. There's not long to go now. Just have to keep on putting up the fight and see what he can do. But another good exit from the final chicane. Ryan Wood has that chicane absolutely nailed to a T and knows what to do. You can see now into turn number 1, again late on the brakes. He's looked very strong here. Is this where a move will come on the final lap, or can he do it a little bit sooner? Still harassing Brenton Hobson out of the first corner, out of turn number 2 as well. They'll fire themselves into this next section. And a few laps ago, Ryan Wood had a really big look at Brenton Hobson into this next braking zone. He's got a good run. He's thinking about it, carrying the momentum all the way through. Can't quite do it though, or can he? It's a big late move. Hobson opens the door, opens the opportunity. How is the power application? It's in favor of Brenton Hobson, and still there's 2 fight.
But Ryan Wood, can he get up the inside into the next right-hander? Here he goes. Big send up the inside. Has the car standing on the rear brakes, but Hobson again will have the inside for the next left-hander, and he holds on once again, Brenton Hobson. So every time through the chicanes, Wood gets the overlap. Hobson positions the car perfectly to make sure that he can fight back. Now another send down the inside using all of the curve and a bit of the grass, Ryan Wood, but he'll run wide on the exit. And we're going to have a carbon copy of what we saw a couple of laps ago with a drag race between the 2 race leaders onto the back straight. You can see that Ryan Wood, he had the right-hand side of the car right over not just the ripple strip, but also the grass There was not space there to make the manoeuvre, and it also compromised his exit speed. It's allowed Brenton Hobson to fight back again. It's a breaking duel between the two of them into the final couple of corners. Is this the last lap we're starting this time around? We expect that it probably will be.
It absolutely is. 1 lap to go, 4.3 kilometers. First and second in the race. First and second in the championship. Ryan Wood harassing, bumping into the back of the 88, loses himself ground, but he's got the speed, he's got the pace to make it all up at the end of the lap. But has he just cost himself an opportunity into this next corner? He's got himself a slowdown. It's all over. Ryan Wood has cost himself big time, and Brenton Hobson fought for everything he had. He put up a magnificent defense, and in the end, it wasn't him who cracked. It was Ryan Wood and Brenton Hobson. As long as nothing goes wrong in the final few corners of this lap, may be set to chuck this championship lead down even further. Ryan Wood back up and running, shouldn't be able to lose third place from Steve Jansen, but Brenton Hobson, a great effort there, and Kobe Williams, while we've been focusing on the battle for the race lead, has unfortunately lost that podium. So Steve Jansen, with another great drive, used to drive the Porsche quite a lot. He's using that experience to his own advantage as well, and finds himself on the podium with just 3 corners to go. One driver has 2 corners to go, and it's a driver that has taken 2 race wins this season. It's been 4 podiums. It has been the masterstroke of scoring points round after round. He's not the championship leader, but he is getting all the closer at every round. It was 30 points, 20 points. It's down to 10 points at the end of round number 7. The 88 Porsche for Synergy Sim Racing, Brenton Hobson, is going to take victory here at the streets of Montreal.
What a race for just ended in terms of a pressure cooker scenario, with 2 drivers battling not just for the race lead, but also for the championship. That was pretty special, and full credit to both Brenton Hobson and Ryan Wood for treating us to that show. That was epic. Daniel Yeaman coming across the line in 6th position, a drag race between him and Emerson Harvey to the finish line there as well. We saw there that Kobe Williams got a slowdown, which cost him another position on the run to the finish line. But Brenton Hobson, that race victory, that takes him to 2nd behind Cooper Webster on the all-time Just Send It winners list, with 6 victories now to Brenton Hobson. So well done to him, and both he and Ryan were just acknowledging that fantastic battle that they both had there. Not only was it ferocious, but it was also very clean and fair as well. They were not taking each other off the racetrack. So very, very full credit to both of those drivers for putting on a terrific demonstration.
No, absolutely. There was plenty of times where it could have gone wrong, but they used the door of the car very effectively. There was contact, but not enough to throw the other out. And at the end of it all, 40 minutes and 6 seconds, it was Brenton Hobson taking victory by 3.5 seconds over championship leader Ryan Wood. Steve Jansen would go on to collect a podium in 3rd place, with Mario Vartanian sneaking at the final moment 4th place, with Kobe Williams dropping down to 5th place. And Daniel Yeaman, a good effort as well. He was fighting up the front for so long, ends up in 6th place at the end of it all. Emerson Harvey was upside down on his roof at the end of the second safety car period, but does find himself in 7th place. A great recovery, with Tyson McAvoy, Brian Vanderwacker scoring a top 10, and Aidan Brand is your top 10.
Back then to Christian Lindbaum in 11th position, Simon Francis 12th. Good recovery from Lindbaum after that second pit stop. Brad Jenner in 13th, ahead of Bradley Vaughan, Julian Andrews, Church, Jonathan Bykoff, the last car on the lead lap. We go back to Harrison Dengate, Tim Mitchell, Ian Quast, and then getting back into the retirements, Eddie Beswick, who worked his way up to 9th position, but got shunted out of that position a few laps from home. He gets classified in position 20.
Tom Wilkinson will round things off in 21st, ahead of Reese Cohen and Matt Lapino. Mitch McLeod, a disappointment there, 24th place and multiple laps down, with Christina Nazarick in at 25th. Tyler Howard was sadly involved in a few little scraps today, and Blake Purdy started from pole, led many laps. It would end up 27th place after being involved in an incident. Nick Scaraju was in a great job all race long, was almost into the top 10, but sadly 28th, with Brady McHugh, Jane Russell, your top 30 cars, with Simon Black, the last of them all. Your 31 car field, around 40 minutes here at the Montreal Street Circuit. Lockie, that was one of the best races we've had all season, I would say.
That was, and once again, full credit to both Brenton Hobson and to Ryan Wood, definitely demonstrating tonight why they are first and second in the championship, and well done to them, putting on a terrific display in the closing laps of Just Send It tonight. Big thanks as well to our sponsors, Logitech G, Custom Track Art, who are putting together a custom trophy for this season's Just Send It Series champion, and Owned 3D Gaming Streaming for their support of this series as well. We'll be back next time, same channel, SimSpeed TV, for another edition of the Just Send It Sim Racing series. On behalf of Bo Albert, I'm Lockie Mansell. See you next week. Bye for now.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going around the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go.
Oh no.
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?